Oh, shut up.
We are professionals.
This is a professional stream. Hi, guys. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 12. We just cut that previous part out in post.
The early one.
Oh gosh. Yeah, we have a lot of great topics to talk about today. I am your host, Blue Squadron, and of course I am joined today by Tiltus. Go ahead and introduce yourself first, because I know Jay's not ready.
Hello, I'm Tiltus. Yeah, fuck you. Hello, I'm Tiltus TV. I'm a part-time streamer, full-time shot caller. I shot call for the guild Solace. Big PvPer, been playing the game for a very long time at this point. I'm here to talk about BDO things today.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Jay, you want to give yourself the big old intro there?
Hi, I'm J-Kun, and I'm a Wusumain, and I gained 1 gear score. Now that we have our awakening weapons, so now I'm 751 gear score, and I love to party. And welcome to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 12. Welcome.
Can we ban him?
Wow, you just gotta lay it on the table every time. The man's gotta lay it on the table. Honestly, my favorite comment on the last podcast was, man, I absolutely loved how professional J-Kun sounded, but then I went and checked out his stream, and he's just a total goofball. And I actually died, bro.
That was the best comment ever.
It was really good. I was a big fan. All right, so first up on the docket today is one of Tiltus's topics for the week. Tiltus, you wanted to discuss enhancing, so let's start off with that. Do you feel enhancing is in a good spot right now compared to guaranteed progression and just buying your gear off the central market? Yes or no? Tiltus, you first, then we'll go to Jay.
I'm not a big enhancer. I've never been good at it. My weapons are like my golden masterpieces, right? They're like 1 or 2 taps and we're good. They don't touch them for a while. My armors suck, and every time I touch a accessory, it blows up, turns to dust in my hands. So I don't touch accessories. I buy them all. I refuse to touch accessories. So I'm not an enhancer. I'm a guaranteed type of man. So
Guaranteed by bro, but 30 seconds. You click it and it's done. Easy peasy. Just succeed. Lemon squeezy.
Just succeed, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Jay, how do you feel about guaranteed enhancement versus... Do you think enhancing's in a good spot, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I think the devs have definitely made a lot of effort into making the enhancing process a lot more tolerable than before. You know, there's so many ways to create fail stacks now compared to the traditional way. I think the only other addition I would probably want for the enhancing process is okay, how do I just picture this. Your friend is about to make like a big tap, right? And so you're like on Discord, oh, share your screen. Or you and your friend are like both tapping something and you want to do it at the same time. I wish kind of there was like an in-game way for you to sort of share screen together so you could share that moment, share that tap together, you know? Our guild does this like community guild tap together on the first Sunday of every month. So if there could be, I don't know, a way to implement a share, you don't want to tap together, you know, like... I feel like it would be such a cool, community-esque experience, right? I feel like it would actually be super popular. Also remove Naru and Tuvala enhancements from the guild announcements. Thank you.
It sounds...
Oh yeah, that's true.
Sounds like a great way to lose friends, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm thinking.
Bro, if I'm looking to just lighten up my friend list load a little bit, yeah, sure, we can get in here and stream our enhancements together. I'll see how long that makes it before it blows. It's not a problem at all, man. Report it. I would go in, Rob. I'm way too salty. There's no shot. Although I will say, we don't condone tapping things in Reforged. But if you are going to stream it for the content, or you're griefing us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we people stream in Discord whenever they're tapping stuff, and that's good content. I would say, as far as like enhancing being in a good spot, I would say it's in a pretty good spot. The only people that are really enforced to enhance are like the super end game, late game PvPers like Jay. I'm sorry, PvEers. Like Jay. But like, I think that new players, not forcing new players to enhance and letting them use the guaranteed pen system, and I mean they do Tuvala, but it's more of an intro to enhancing. Like anyone that complains about their Tuvala gear, you're like, man, this guy's never gonna make it in BDO. There's just no shot. So like, Yeah, once they get through the guaranteed pen system, do we really think that there needs to be more guidance after that, or do you really want to should we be setting players loose after the guaranteed pen system, or do you think that there should be more guided progression like that? And honestly, this kind of goes back to our discussion last week, which was all about like, is the game becoming too much of a theme park MMO? Jay, why don't we start with you?
I think there's definitely already plenty of guaranteed ways to acquire gear, from Jatina accessories, weapons, armor, and even the Magnus questline provides a free pen armor itself. I think maybe the only other addition I would add is a way to maybe convert Zarka and Elfin weapons into perhaps non-sellable Blackstar and Godride weapons. They're just, almost strictly better nowadays. So other than that, I do think we have enough guaranteed progression in the game.
Okay, Tiltus, do you want more?
No, I actually don't, even though I hate enhancing accessories. I feel like for me, like I did 2 weapons, I did 2 armors when I came back to the game. Actually, I ran through seasonal first when I came back on a fresh account. Ran through all of seasonal, did 2 weapons, did 2 armors, got lucky with my 3rd weapon, worked on the last 2 armors, over the course of, period of time, as Blue knows, my Tet Begs that were reformed for that sat there forever. And then accessories, there's so many ways to get like baseline Tet accessories, whether you're doing pin capochas through seasonal, or just actually a masochist and actually making them with Yon's fragments. And so yeah, exactly. So I feel like it's actually pretty healthy the way that the system is set up now. For people like me who are not that RNG lucky, we can do our guaranteed pins for our armors and weapons. You've got 1 ring that's guaranteed as well. So I think it's actually in a really good spot right now, especially compared to how it used to be. And the whole reason I kind of brought it up was because in this week's patch notes, they're introducing the ability to see other players and what they tap items on, what their fail stack range is, and what the percentage of players that tap on things.
Whoa, let's back up. What other players? You mean like the whole server, or like what?
I believe the whole server. Yeah. So if you're tapping for try, whatever, you can see what players used 40, what players used 30, what sickos use 60. You can see the percentages of players that tap those things on those stacks. So
that's perpetual content right there, man. You could just sit there and stream that and then flame the crap. I could just flame people for getting stuff on low fail stat. This is crazy, bro.
Yeah. So that's what sparked my interest in that conversation today. I was like, ooh, that's interesting. I'm glad it's there because it does it I think it'll help players, just especially newer players. They're like, man, what the heck do I tap this this Black Star on, or what do I tap my God Eye or whatever it's called on, so it'll help, I think, new players just kind of get a feel for things and not have to go to Grumpy Green Cricket and be like, okay, what is the guide to enhancing yes, this fail stack for this. So it'll be I think it's a good change. I like that.
Does it show guild members?
I think it's just a percentage of players from the screen shot that I've seen of it. It is just hey, this many players, this percentage of players hit it on 30, this percentage of players hit it on 40, this percentage of players hit it on 50.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have that?
Yes, but let me go hunt for it.
This. Yeah.
Yeah, let me go hunt for it.
I thought that you said it was just going to tell me what fail stack they hit. Every single banner that came up, it's just like, bam, that guy hit a pen over
that
on an 8
insane
stack. And I was like, man, the mental status of the whole server is just actually going to tank.
It's in the chat, so it's just a percentage breakdown of what people are tapping things on.
Okay, so for our listeners on Spotify, to explain this to you. So what we're looking at here is basically when you're in the enhancement window about to click the button, on the right side it will show you what percentage of players use these different stacks and succeeded on these stacks. So okay, all right, that makes more sense. And honestly, it would have been great to be able to see people's fail stacks when they're enhancing, because then we would know who to kick. To be honest with you, like then we know. Oh my God! You went for that pen crescent on a 98 stack. Look at you. You know what? I'm just gonna tell. Oh man, that PVX guild. I'm gonna tell them that you're on your way. So like I'll reach out to the GM for you. Like it's not happening. It's not happening. As it is, we still don't have. We talked about this on a previous podcast, but I would love to see alliance enhancements. Like if you're allied with a guild in game for like wars or whatever, I would love to be able to see enhancements from like across the alliance. And I think that everybody that's currently in a guild alliance would probably like to see that. There's only a few players that I know that really want to toggle that off altogether. And honestly, why can't we have that feature too? At the end of the day. But okay, all right, that's enough about enhancing. I think, honestly, again, in my opinion, I think that enhancing's in a pretty good spot. I think that they guide players enough, but at a certain point, you just got to let them go and be like, okay, either buy it off the market or enhance it yourself. Right. And me personally, I've never been responsible enough to save up over about 80 billion silver. Somewhere in that range, I get like a big influx of money. I'm like, oh my gosh, number bigger, good. And then it goes straight back down to zero because I do something stupid. So it's more
the name of the game, right?
I enhance everything that I make. Everything that I make is enhanced. Or like everything that I'm wearing is enhanced by me. So, but that was a pact I made with myself at the start of the game, was to grief myself like that.
Yeah, I will say all of my armors and weapons do say pen. I refuse to buy them or say my name on them. So
there you go. All right. Yeah, there was a time for a long time where I enhanced the very first pen boss gears that I got. So my first Kudum and my first Nuver and my first Zarga. And I still have my Kudum, was the very first piece of boss gear I ever got. And I got it from the second anniversary box that they gave away. That was the first Rolly box they gave for boss gear. And we rolled it, and I got a Kudum, and I was like, bet! And that Kudum and I lived happily ever after the son of a bitch went pen on the 85th try.
85?
Don't even. We don't like to talk about it. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. I don't understand it. Honestly, it was like the tampon of fail stacks. It would just absorb all of these fail stacks. It was just all the way up my tet stacks, tri stack.
That analogy though.
It would eat all of those fail stacks, and then it would never finish. Absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. Yeah, the analogy worked though. The analogy worked. You knew exactly what I meant.
I was not ready for that one.
All right.
Hope you guys are awake tonight.
All right, so moving on to our second topic. Tiltus, you had mentioned, do you feel that the value of silver has gone down over the years? I think that the answer to that question is quite obviously yes, but what is your take on it?
Yeah, so I feel like not necessarily the monetary value of silver, but having a lot of silver in the game now, in my opinion, does not feel as good as it used to. Like, when you start getting into like the billions of silver and stuff like that, it's like for like upper end players, you're like, what am I going to do with this? Like, do I gamble? Like, do I go enhance and lose everything that I have? Do I save and like just wait until I have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 plus bills sitting in the central market? Whereas I feel like way back in the day, when we all kind of first started, it was like when you get, 15 mil in the pocket, you're like, all right, here we go. I'm going for duo red coral earrings, or I'm going for my duo Schultz belt. It was this very small amount of money, but it felt very impactful. Whereas now it's like silver just doesn't feel like it impacts anything in the game at our point, except for, okay, I'm gonna go gamble 20 billion silver. Hopefully I get a Tet Disto out of it, like that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I feel like it's silver just does not impact the game, or at least it feels like it doesn't impact the game as much as it used to. And maybe because we're upper end players in the grand scheme of things. And
well,
stuff,
Jay and I are. Don't lump yourself in with that. That's not fair. What?
I'm taking my gearlet ass home. Fuck you guys.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist the opportunity to take a shot. I need to reel it in today. I got to bring it back, man. I just came in.
Blue's on fire
anyway,
tonight. Somebody lit something under his ass today.
Spicy today.
Jay, answer with caution.
Hi.
Do you feel that silver has lost its value over the years?
Well, I mean, I think inflation is always kind of an inevitable thing. I mean, look at real life, for example. I feel like the biggest culprit for inflation was Honestly, whenever they added Serendia Elvia, that just skyrocketed the amount of in-game silver generated in the game, since the majority of the silver you made was from vendoring items rather than selling items in the market. I think, as for whether inflation affected the value of silver too much, I think what do you call it? Like silver sinks. That's kind of like what silver sinks in the game are for, a way to delete the amount of silver in game so it stays valuable. And I feel like there should be more of those in game. What the silver sinks are is probably a whole nother discussion. I mean, if I had to mention a new silver sink in game, maybe utilizing the black market more would be amazing. I really loved the event last time where players could get boss armor and accessories for a fraction of the cost. If they added more rare items to the black market more regularly, let's say crazy idea. Let's say Garmoth hearts, Vel's hearts, Khan's hearts, resplendent alchemy stones for maybe double the price of the market. I feel like people would be willing to spend 20 bill if they were offered a Garmoth heart from Patrigo. So. And maybe that would be able to make silver more valuable in BDO.
Yeah. I mean, you heard it here first, folks. Verbatim, Jay said there needs to be more silver sinks in the game, comma, the alchemy stone system is exactly what we need and is perfect, period, close quote. Those are the current, that's like the biggest silver sink in the game. We did talk about that on a previous podcast, but I agree with Jay. I think that the whole model that we've got going here, yes, silver has been inflated over the year. I don't entirely agree with Tiltus on this. I don't silver definitely still holds a value, but it's only because everything in the game makes you more money now than it did back then. And you can see that whenever they increase the value of an outfit, right? That's generally I would say as a general rule, the developers have a pretty good handle on how much silver is actually worth on the marketplace and where they want their outfits to actually be. So when we started the game, for example, and this was first introduced, outfits were 30 mil a piece on the marketplace back then. And so that should tell you how much time it took to make 30 mil back then versus now they're worth, what are they, 800 and something million silver? 840 million silver. Yeah, so there's been quite a bit of inflation since then, but they've also adjusted the marketplace prices to kind of get in line with that. So I feel like silver's in a pretty good spot. I wouldn't say that it's too inflated. It definitely has its value, but it's increased over the year. But I think that that's a state of a more healthy economy. Back then, when silver just was not obtainable, it just wasn't a healthy economy, and everything was sold out on the marketplace all the time when the game was pretty new. The marketplace was a very difficult place to actually get things. Now it's much more obtainable and it's much more new player friendly, which I think is good for the game as a whole, right? Okay, moving right along. Tiltus, I'm actually going to let you field this because I was a little confused on what you meant. So the BDO, you want to see more large-scale BDO events worldwide. What exactly did you mean by that?
Not worldwide, but in the BDO world, in the universe that we play in online. I really like, and we talked about it a little bit, and I wanted to bring it back up because we had the whole faction conversation where we, talked about these kind of large-scale events and things like that. And also that the world of BDO is a little bit static. We get our new expansions and stuff like that, but the world as a whole is very static in the way that it operates. Velia has always been Velia since release. Serendia has always been Serendia since release. There's very few changes to the territories as the games progress. We just get new territories added to the game. So my kind of question here is would we want to see a large scale change to a territory, something that is an event that happens in game that changes a territory to be something different, or do we like BDO being kind of static the way it is, and I know where everything is in this territory, and this is home base or whatever? Because I personally really like mix-ups to old content or content that's existed for a long time, like the Elvia stuff. I thought Elvia was fantastic, but I would like to would we like to see something that's big that, players can interact with and help move along, this, Zarka invades, Elezra, summons all of the world bosses and just levels Calpheon, like anything, like things like that, just like interesting events that mix things up a little bit. Would you guys want to see something like that?
Okay, if I could,
I
want to jump in. I want to jump on this right away. But okay, so like one of the big things that I wanted to see is one of the first things. Maybe not like a meteor striking Calpheon or anything, or maybe like the world bosses, but something like Serendia bandits keep robbing the like the Balanos wagons on their way to Calpheon or something like that, right? And if you want to decide with Balanos, you could try to defend the wagon, right, as it goes. And if you want to decide with Serendia and be a bandit, you could try to do that too. That would encourage PvP. We have something like this in the game now called Tax Cart. But if they could make it like an actual in-game like monthly event and like send out a bunch of carts at various different times, at random times during the day and during the week, it would encourage people to be active, run out, maybe hit the cart, try maybe get some PvP going. Like that would be super cool. So yeah, I think events like that would be super sick. Jay?
Yeah, when you mentioned world scale events, I remember Blonde Bear, he's a very old WoW player, and he was telling me about this event in World of Warcraft where it was like this one-time thing, and it was the opening of this gates of the raid called Ankaraj or something, and it required the cooperation of hundreds and hundreds of players to complete. And I feel like a world event that bands a whole community together would be amazing. Like let's say like Hadoom decided to invade Valencia, and depending on how much effort the players put into the event, you can even have two different outcomes. Let's say players decided not to help Valencia, maybe it would be in ruins, but you would get stronger Valencia mobs for better loot, or maybe you're successful in defending Valencia and get access to additional drop rate for the region or something like that. Just throwing out ideas. Maybe I don't know if they're listening.
Yeah, the thing that kind of sparked this was actually WoW and Final Fantasy 14 both. Because Final Fantasy 14, as you guys know, the base game is called A Realm Reborn. Because when the game launched, it flopped. It flopped really hard. It was really bad. But if you go to YouTube and look, there was a world-ending event that they did to close the original Final Fantasy 14 servers. They like completely nuked the world. Everything was gone. They put the servers down, not that scale for BDO, but it was this game-changing event. And then when it came back, there was just whispers and rumors and, of this world that existed before Eorzea existed, and WoW had Cataclysm where they did almost the exact same thing. So that's what kind of sparked my mind. And then we talked about factions and all that kind of thing. And I was like, what's something that we haven't seen in BDO that would be sick is just a massive world scale event where it's just like, let's mix it up. Let's do something cool. Because BDO is a hugely popular game. I mean, it's in the top 5 MMOs. It's not small by any means. And it also encourages players to like really plug in and do cool stuff. So that was kind of my thought process on it.
Got another cool idea. How about we would get like a server notification. It's like mobs of this particular region are laying siege to that castle. And you could take like a teleport and like get into the castle. Not only would this give players an opportunity to see what kind of defending a castle in siege might look like, but you get to do it like in a cooperative way. Instead of making castles always about PvP, you have these big mobs. Like if you're on Calpheon, you get the ogres coming in and like you got to nuke them
the
and stuff. Like
siege towers. Like
exactly,
you have all these
bro.
like things
they'd
that
be
kind of
pushing them up to the they'd be pushing them up.
PvE Node War, PvE Siege.
Yeah, we've talked about PvE Node Wars. In fact, these are things that could totally happen.
Yeah, and this is going to sound absolutely crazy. The Odalita mobs are attacking Thornwood Castle. Give Thornwood Castle a purpose. You know what I mean? Like that would be super. There's another good idea, right? And it could all happen at the same time, and you could teleport to your favorite region. And if the mobs got through on one region, that region would not receive a drop rate buff. But if the players on the server successfully defend the other regions, all those regions get drop rate buffs. Stuff like that. I don't know, anything like that. I think would be really, really cool. So yeah, I completely agree with this. Do you guys have any other great ideas for events like that might like?
I mean, it depends on how far the BDO devs would want to go with things. Yeah, I could sit here and come up with ideas all day long. I mean, I play Dungeons and Dragons world scale things, or just, I'm a DM, so I just create these crazy ideas. But I would love to see like at least one just massive large scale event that plugs all the players in, besides doing Siege or besides doing Node Wars or Guild versus Guild. Like, plug them all in. You can make factions if you want, but just plug all the players in, make them interact with this crazy world event that's happening. I think it would be really cool, and BDO is like the perfect sandbox where you could do that. Like, okay, players, the decision's yours on what you want to do, but here's the event. I feel like BDO events are a little tame, and we could spice things up a little bit. So
right,
I would love to see it.
All right. Okay, so I just want to be clear about this next topic. This is not my topic, nor is it Jay Kuhn's topic. The person that is not partnered currently with the company brought this up. Delphi, it's not my fault. This is Tiltus's topic. I even put it in the Tiltus's topic. Tiltus wanted to discuss this. Tiltus asked, do we feel like the GM and CM team are doing a good job? The first question I'm going to ask is, are they good? Are GMs and CMs that currently work for Pearl Abyss in Los Angeles, are they doing a good job in comparison to our previous GM CM teams? And then I want you guys to follow it up with, do you feel like they're doing a good job overall, or could they do better? Tiltus, you start. Again, this is his topic. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean. Okay, now I feel like. So I've done Node Wars for a very long time. I've run guilds for a very long time. I have done multiple different podcasts. I have plugged into the PvP community many times. And in my experience, there's very, very few times that we get very direct lines with GMs and CMs, and we start seeing these GM CM style events. That really focus on like some niche players, because PvPers are niche, but we're loud. And so personally, I feel like this iteration of GMs and CMs have been doing an absolutely fantastic job just making their presence known. I mean, the names of them are game masters and community managers, right? So like, I feel like they've really plugged in well. I'm not saying other ones haven't, but I'm saying this iteration feels the best. I love, I personally loved the GM CM shot calling event that happened a couple of weeks ago.
Back up. There was a GM CM shot calling event, and it
was very small. It was 4. It was a setup fight, and it was really cool because they came into 4 guilds and they were the shot callers, and that's what it was. And it was a little difficult because BDO community, but it was really nice to have the GMs and CMs really plug in, and it felt very tangible at that moment where it was like, okay, these are the people that like really listen to us. And I know like Corruption spends a lot of time with talking with Johnny, listening to the PvPers. I know that there's the partner Discord. I'm not included in that, so my experience with them is very limited. But it was one of the first times where I felt like, as somebody that's not a partner, I got to talk to a GM. I got to hear a GM's voice. They're on my friends list finally after playing the game for 6 years. I've got a GM and CM on my fucking friends list finally. So it was just, it's neat to see them plug in that way. And so I really enjoy the current iteration and what they're doing. I think they probably don't get enough praise, so I really like it, and that's where this topic came from. Was I wanted to actually gas them up a little bit. So
okay, look, guys, your funeral. It's not a problem at all, man. You can say whatever you want. Just understand.
Suddenly my RNG just like plummets on my account. I'm like, what
place? I don't like. You just might not be able to log in for a few weeks. Aside from that, I think you're going to be okay. No, but to explain to some of our viewers at home, the CMs and GMs job They're more or less interchangeable. They do technically have certain titles, but they can kind of switch between the different things that they do. Their job is to manage our community. So for NA, that looks like they handle the support tickets, the bands, the events. They help create the events. They help manage the partner and creator program for that particular region, and they try to submit that. One of their primary jobs is submitting feedback to Pearl Abyss. Like, they're the avenue that we all have to go through, and then they get together as a team and they submit the feedback to Pearl Abyss. So this is their job. So, and I will say, that being explained, that previous CMs and GMs before I get to our current team have done a horrific job of this. Like Cacao and their team for years. I mean, there were, and the previous publisher before them, their teams for stuff. I mean, there were horror stories of GMs like picking up players and like moving them across the world for like favors and stuff, or like trading in-game silver, like really early on in the game system. I mean, it got shut down really quick, but like there's horrible stuff that we had happen with previous CMs and GMs. As with like, and then into Cacao, you look at the partner program. Jay, were you in the Cacao partner program?
I was not.
Okay. Neither was I, but I got to witness it as it happened to them. Like it was miserable. Like the way they handled their content creators was really bad. I felt like Cacao really never pushed feedback forward to Pearl Abyss in Korea. Now, granted, like you have to understand, being a CM or GM, no matter where you're from, even the ones that currently work for Pearl Abyss, your hands are tied. Like all you can do, you can swing a bat, but you're gonna have trouble catching a ball with your hands tied. Like there's only so much that they can do when the community submits feedback, and then they turn around and relay that to the developers, and the developers say, no, that's never going to happen. Like there's only so much you can do in that case. As far as are they doing enough goes, I would assume so. I don't know the day-to-day activities of most of the CMs and GMs, but I know they're doing an outstanding job as far as like, I mean, if you just look at like the Cacao team, and then when Pearl Abyss took over, I mean, look how many quality of life changes we've gotten since then, right? Mm-hmm. It used to feel like people were like, man, they just don't balance around, and they only balance around Korea. And then we got AOS and things like this, and Pearl Abyss took over, and then it was like, oh, they're actually listening to some of our balance ideas, or they're listening to some of our quality of life changes, and that I have to attribute to our current CM-GM team actually getting the point across. So I think that before it was a problem with no one wants to communicate with the developers, and now it's more of just like, now we're starting to see a clearly defined line, because I feel like our CM-GMs are in all likelihood relaying pretty much all of the relevant information that they have to the Korean developers, and what we are getting back is what the developers think are like if we're not getting it back, it's because the developers don't want the game to do that. It's not because they didn't actually hear the suggestion. Does that make sense? It's like, I feel like they're doing a great job. And in fairness, the partner program and the new creator program didn't even exist until Pearl Abyss took over. I think it does a better job taking care of its creators, and a much, much better job taking care of its community. I mean, the tickets that you put in, if you put in a ticket, I remember as a player, I would put in a Cacao ticket. If it wasn't about a Pearl shop item, it's not getting answered, bro. It's not happening. And even if it was, like, it was just obnoxious. And depending on who you got, it was like inconsistent on the response. So if you put in 5 tickets, eventually on the 5th guy, he's like, all right, fine, you can have it. That I just feel like I just don't feel like that's a thing. We get pretty consistently no across the board now on things. They're pretty good and very consistent about their policies. And then their GM-CM events, as Tiltis had alluded to, the GM-CM events have been better. Like, man, every once in a while, a GM will just spawn in. Like a GM or CM will just spawn in, and they'll be like, hey guys, BA10, y'all get a big buff. Yeah. Right, just out of nowhere. Bro, we never got them. I know they were capable of doing it, and we never used to get that stuff.
The only times I had ever heard, I didn't even go. The only times I'd ever heard of a GM or CM popping in under Cacao was when Off and Tet spawned 2 days early. And they came in and they nuked the boss, and then they went to people's inventories that got the box and yanked it out of their inventory. So that was the only time under Cacao I'd ever even heard the whispers of a GM or CM being in game. So,
bro, yeah, it just never happened. It's like they didn't exist. It's like they were afraid to tell us that they were around, right? Versus our current CM team, who will literally spawn in with a musket and gun me down in the middle of a pack. Like there's a line for like how much.
I was grinding Ash Forest and Crypt, and Delph would just spawn with his stupid musket and shoot me in the back, and I'm like, I'm grinding Ash Forest and Crypt.
I'm wearing a life killing set. Like, yeah, no. So like yeah, okay, Jay, why don't you speak on it a little bit? Like,
yeah, you've pretty much covered everything and touched on everything that I was gonna say. If I had to add something, I love how so do you remember the event where we were killing the ogre and the what was it, mutant ogre and mutant troll? Like a GM just popped in to to like support us, give us some GM buffs. So I feel like those kind of things. Those things are very how do I word it, like very like charming, just very like very like, oh, shit, these interactions make me feel
right,
make us feel like special. And so yeah, I mean they've even hosted like IRL events, like the recent Oasis event. I don't know if you went. I think Charlie went there, Suzanne, and he said when he was talking to me about his experience, it made him feel like really special, really connected with the GM and CM team and everybody at Pearl Abyss. It felt like they cared about their adventures, and so I really hope they continue connecting with their adventures in BDO in this way. So
yeah, because that's the thing. Like it's our way of feedback, but it's also Pearl Abyss's way to interact with players too. Because we don't have a Korean team, that interacts with our world. We have an NA team. So just feeling like they put a person or a personality behind each one of these people is huge for me. Like I love it. So
yeah, like I don't know. I feel like the current CMGM team, it's really obvious, like with their interaction with the players and stuff, that I feel like the problem before when we had Cacao, like Cacao would always tell us, oh, the developers just don't listen to us. We give the feedback. They're just not listening to us. And I'm not tempted to believe that anymore, because they were never interactive with us as a community, and it didn't really feel like that feedback was ever actually getting through. Now it's like, oh man, it does look like feedback is getting through, and they're constantly interacting with the community, which leads me to believe that the Cacao team was just lazy, or just didn't do their job like they should have, right? And now we finally have a team that actually puts things across the developers, and we don't get everything we want, right? But I do feel like we get enough stuff now. Yeah, I know, God forbid. But like I feel like we get enough stuff now that I can say, all right, they're probably relaying everything, and like this line of stuff that we're not getting, that's just the developers saying, yeah, that's not going to happen, move on. Kind of like Balanos is never gonna have drop rate on it. Balanos Siege, like if you own Balanos, it's never gonna have drop rate on it. There's just like, no, it's not gonna happen. People have asked for it for years, not gonna happen.
But we have it. We're the only people in the game that have Balanos Siege. So
So wait, NA is the only region that has Balanos Siege.
I believe EU may have it as well because we're the Western, but none of the other regions have Balanos Siege. It's just us.
Okay, well there's the shining example. Yeah, there's your proof right there. Right. And I know, they definitely pushed hard for that. I know our GM team definitely pushed hard for that, because boy, the partners were in a tizzy. Over that, and the forums were just exploding with it. Like Siege is bad, worse than it's ever been. And then Balanos Siege has come out, and the lag's been like pretty bad, but it's way better than it used to be. For sure, it's way better than it used to be. Okay, let's move past the very dangerous topic that might get us all banned. Let's move on to this new region culture. And Tiltus, I think this is one of your last topics for the week, but you said the developers seem really excited to bring the Korean culture to the West via the new expansion. And I have to say, I can actually feel that, like visibly in their videos. They're smiling more, bro. Sometimes when they go to release regions and stuff, and they're like, we hope you enjoy our new content. And it's like, it's just deadpan, there's no smiles, and they're like, we're very excited, and this is like, we're very excited, look at the cool fox and all this stuff, like, so like at this side they're smiling, which means I know that they're more invested. And to be honest with you, I'm more excited about Land of the Morning Light than I have ever been for an expansion, just because I know that they've put this much time into it. But Tiltus, why don't you go ahead and talk about it?
Yeah, so they released a video, like 2 weeks ago now, I believe it was. Maybe it was last week. I can't remember. My weeks are all running together. But where they talked about kind of the creation side of how they created the new expansion, and it was geared towards the Western players. And so a lot of it had to do with, their kind of story writing, how they wrote a lot of the stories. And what they did is they took a lot of Korean folklore and they twisted it and they put it in the game, which is a fantastic way, in my opinion, to get your culture really across. They talked about the design, the physical design for the map of Land of the Morning Light, and how Korean influenced it is, and how they wanted, to have the feelings of walking through the mountainous regions of their country, or running through like small villages and like all this kind of stuff. And even in Wusa's lore, you have this you have Jay, you probably know the flower garden that I can't remember the name of right now.
What's that?
Jay, are you under attack?
My bro's dog went
ate
for a second. It was me. Yeah, sorry. They were really excited about this, and one of the things that stuck out to me the most is like I love like level design, I love lore and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that stuck out to me is they touched on the music, and the guy was like, I wanted to take traditional Korean music that we've had, in this country forever, and I wanted to put it in the game. And so he modernized a lot of traditional like tunes, like, I don't know exactly what they are, but I would imagine, they're similar to like nursery rhymes and things like that, things that like Western players are very familiar with, but in Korea, and that they changed them a little bit and put them into the game. I was really excited about it. He said it was the most nerve-wracking thing that he's ever done as a composer, and I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm excited about this, because I'm a musician, so that stuff really sticks to me.
Are you really?
So, yeah.
What instruments do you play? I'm sorry. Oh, wait. Okay, oh. I know what instrument that is, but for our listeners who can't see it,
I just showed.
It's a big violin. That's crazy.
So that they know what instrument is that.
Yeah, I just showed my cello. I'm a classically trained cellist.
Right. Yeah.
I have multiple guitars. I play classical, acoustic, and electric. And I also own a didgeridoo, because when I was a teenager, I was like, I want a didgeridoo. So I know how to play the didgeridoo as well. But yeah, so music is like a very staple part of my personality. So when the guy was talking about music and was like both excited and nervous, I was like, I understand that 110%. So, and the video did such a good job at portraying their excitement for the new expansion that it made me excited. I was hype after it, which is something we haven't gotten with a lot of other expansions. So,
right on. Yeah, and I love that they've given this much care. I wish they would give this much care to every one of their expansions. Hire people specifically from that region of the world that you're trying to like, emanate in this new region. Hire people like that to really embrace the culture. You know what I mean, for that. But Jay, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you're the lore master.
Yeah,
I feel like we can all relate to having shared our own culture with someone else through food, language, and music. Actually, on their Perlibus YouTube, there was actually this recent video they uploaded showcasing some of their real world land masses of Korea and recreated it in game for Land of Morning Light. So I'm sure the developers had an amazing time with creating an expansion based on their own culture and sharing it across the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could definitely tell they were really passionate about this particular expansion, which is why I'm so excited about it. And also probably why they forced us to watch every second of it.
That thought did cross my mind while I was watching that video. I was like,
Rob's the reason.
They did add a speed up function. There is a speed up function for the cutscenes.
Nice.
If you didn't know, it doubles the speed of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's affectionately named R. All right. Okay. So moving right along, I just wanted to mention that because next week's podcast, we're probably going to talk a lot about Land of the Morning Light. But honestly, the talk of the town this week has been about the new skill that they put on the Global Labs for Wizard and Witch. Now, before we start digging apart the mass teleport skill, which we're going to do next, first I want to know, and Jay, this was one of your topics, and I thought it was really good. New skills for old classes. Is this not exactly what we had talked about wanting in a previous podcast? Like, I know that Tiltus is like, fix your game, like fix the stop coming out with new classes, and then it's almost like
Tyler
Jay,
one clip.
yeah, it's almost like Jay just turn around and say "Por qué no los dos?" And if he was Hispanic, I just realized I should have probably prepared that in Korean. But now we're coming out with new classes, and we're getting fixes to old classes, which I think is really cool. So I'm curious, Jay, you didn't get to talk too much about the previous topic, so I'm going to send it straight to you. Do you like this? Like that they're going back to the old classes and like giving them updates and stuff? And then would you like to see this done more?
Yeah, I mean, the teleport skill has always been that sort of iconic and unique aspect of the caster classes. We saw more variations of the teleport skill in the form of elementalization for awakening casters, which is let that backwards teleport, and for succession casters a split teleport, which is 2 charges of teleport essentially. And now they're adding a variation involving teleporting multiple players at the time. So if I were to think of an iconic aspect of a class and expand upon it like that along those lines, one mechanic comes to mind is like stealth mechanics. There's only a few classes like Ninja or Kunoichi that utilize stealth mechanics, and more recently the addition of the stealth mechanic for Archer, and I feel like so on the theme of mass spells, what about a mass stealth mechanic or a mass cloak, mass invisibility field would be a cool way to expand upon the iconic aspect of these.
Put the gun down, Jay.
I can feel my eye.
Put the gun down, Jay. Step away from the firearm, sir, before you hurt somebody.
Oh,
I don't want an invisible berserker 200%.
Oh no,
I am okay with that one.
You are nuts.
Okay, I had another idea. Okay, how about one more iconic aspect for a class, I think, is Sage's unique concept of how do I word it? Like involving time magic, right? He and Recent Wizard are one of the only classes in the game that have mechanics involving cooldown of your abilities. Sage even has a full cooldown reset skill, literally named Reset. And for those who don't know what the skill does, it does what the name suggests, resets the cooldown of all the Sage's abilities. And you're probably thinking of what I'm going to say next, and that is a mass reset ability. I know this could possibly sound dangerous to design, but I think I'm just throwing the idea out there. Another concept, another idea I had for the concept of time magic, maybe like a time stop, right? Think of Mard Alt from League, like he throws that area of effect and it freezes everybody in there, and nobody could take damage, but nobody can act for a certain amount of time. And I feel like that would be a cool sort of, things like that, taking these unique aspects of pre-existing classes and expanding upon them. And that's what they did with the mass teleport. And with them adding this for the older classes, that kind of opens up avenues for this type of stuff to exist in the future. So I'm excited to see what's to come.
I love that last suggestion. Tiltus, let's you talk on this first. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I have always been a very strong advocate for making classes feel a little bit niche. And this is a prime example of now you're not playing the class just because of PA or heal or stuff like that. There's also this new utility where it's like, hey, I can grab 5 of my friends and we can go teleport, over there, It's a very unique aspect to the class that adds to that very niche feeling where it's like, okay, now I've got this really cool thing that directly involves the people that are around me. Heals are great, PA is great, and that does directly affect the players around you, but this is like a physical, hey, we're going over there now. I speculated a lot with Johnny over the weekend, on ways that you can really make this thing useful, because there's not a ton of stipulations on what you can do or what you can't do with this teleport. There are some which are good, but it's very unique, and I would love to see them take the same approach to all the other classes as well, and just start, pick one thing, let's make that very niche for that character. So I love it. I think it's a great addition. There's gonna be, just like with everything brand new, there's gonna be a little bit of some issues with it. Okay, we're just gonna have to move past that. But I'm excited to see them touching old classes again and revamping them slightly, not like reworks like we got in the past, but just like, hey, here's mass teleport. So I love it. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I mean, before we get into the mass teleport, I want to talk a little bit about like Jay's idea for like more of a bard. I wouldn't call it a bard ultimate. Give
A
Sage
stasis.
like an ability to put down like a trap of some kind. There's a unit in StarCraft 2 called the Oracle. And what the Oracle can do, one of the abilities that it has, is it can lay down a trap on the map, and you can see it. If you're the enemy player, you can see it. It kind of looks like to us in game, it would look relatively small. But like we could walk up and that would allow players to play around it. But if you walk over it carelessly, it just bam. It pauses time on those people for like 5 or 6 seconds, right? It holds them in place. They can't take damage, right? But they also can't do damage, and they can't move. They just have to sit there while the enemy ball walks up on them, right? So like it's a stasis ward. Right, like something like that would be really cool. It'd be you could play around it. I don't think that would be crazy hard to implement or code into the game. I don't think it would have a crazy amount of lag issues with it either. If anything, it would decrease the lag because you have less overall skills being cast on the server. So like, I think something like that would be really cool. Also, anything like a vortex field. We have vacuums in the game. But something like a super vortex of some kind, maybe it'd be a guild skill, or give it to like a Nova or something, because they've already got a big vacuum. To like really like vacuum in like a whole guild or something. That'd be super cool too. So any of those things. But like I really do think it's wildly cool that they're going back to old class and just adding skills, kind of like out of the blue. Because honestly, I think that freshens up. I wish they had just had like. Yeah, I'm biased. I wish they had just added it to Awakening, if I'm being honest. I feel like Succession stands...
I 100% agree.
I feel like Succession stands the stronger version of most classes in the game in terms of overall damage, and and just, I don't know, everything. So, like, I think it would be really cool if they just gave it to Awakening Caster, because Awakening Caster is kind of in a bad spot. When you compare it to Succession Caster, that would have been really, really cool. But yeah, I like things like that. Honestly, if you want to ask me which class, we're going to talk a little bit about this more later, but which class needs that dramatically, like the worst? Awakening Mystic. I feel like if they did things like this to Awakening Mystic, they would make it relevant again, but we're going to talk about that a little later. Let's go ahead and talk about the mass TP skill now. Because I have tested this. Have you guys tested this on the Global Labs? Because I tested this extensively on the Global Labs. I went to every single castle. I went to Battle Arena. I used it in the open world. All the different angles for sieging and not sieging a castle. Open field. I tested verticality on it. I tested to see if the debuff was working, and it's not. So like, I've tested this extensively. Have you guys gotten a chance to test this on the Global Labs at all?
I have not.
Yeah,
okay.
I have not. I watched Biceptimus test it a little bit, and I did a kind of a deep dive on the skill with Johnny over the weekend. So I'm relatively familiar with it, but I have not personally used it.
Okay, so for our listeners that don't know, this skill on the Global Lab allows you to, as a caster, Awakening or Succession, Wizard or Witch, to take 5 of your friends with you, so teleport 6 people total at maximum from one location, and it double TPs you to the new location, right? Before we start speculating wildly about what this skill can be used for, let me explain the limitations on it. You cannot charge a skill up, be double teleported, and then drop it like Sage. It immediately cancels whatever you have trying to cast. Beforehand, it cancels that and it puts it on cooldown. So like if you're in the middle of trying to cast PA, or you've tried to cast PA, it cancels that and puts it on cooldown, and you double TP forward without it. So you can't do that. And it also forces you to go. it is extremely difficult to iframe it. So before the Sorks say it'll be fine, I just iframe it. You're coming too, bitch. Don't think you dodged it. So honestly, I mean, like my first thoughts on it, I know a lot of people's opinion were like, look at this as an engage tool. My first thoughts on it were immediately, oh, thank God my backline's finally going to move up. Willing or not. Like, willing or not, you are going to move forward. But Tiltus, what were some of the applications that you thought up for this?
So one of the big things that Johnny and I speculated on is axes. It is going to be a great disengage tool to get your axers away from a fort, because now instead of evasion rolling, they can get double TP'd out, and they're iframed for it. So I thought that was a fantastic application of it. What else? We obviously Zerker bombing just got a lot easier because Zerkers sometimes have a hard time getting in to where they want to bomb. So this way they move in with iframe. That is the scariest part of this skill to me, is double TPing forward for Zerkers with 200%. Spooky, to say the least. And I'm sure another thing I saw, and Blue, you've tested it, so you probably know, when you TP, the gift that they released looks like you move in a straight line, even if there's nothing below you, and then you fall. So one of the things that we speculate...
Oh, no, I tested verticality on it. It'll go down.
It will go down?
It'll go down, yeah. So if for example, the Medaya rooftops in Medaya Siege, if you're standing all the way up on the tippity top of the rooftops and you TP towards where like the castle fort would be, you land on the ground. You don't just fall through the air with fall damage.
Oh, okay. Is it like based on where your cursor's at?
Yeah. It goes to your cursor. Now we don't know if we can mouse move it yet, because mouse moving is really sketchy on Global Labs. So like I can't really test the mouse move quite yet, but...
One of the big things that somebody had come up with was getting archers and suck rangers into places they normally wouldn't be with it.
Yeah, you mean because like forward, where I need them to be?
Forward, yeah. But also like getting them into weird places where their class does not allow them to get to, but now all of a sudden you've got a vertical line movement that can push you, where you're trying to go. So that would be that'll be interesting to see if, all of a sudden there's archers on cliffs and rooftops that they're normally not on, and now all of a sudden, they're shooting you from a mile and a half away. Right. So yeah, BSR bombing axes, I think, is a great implication of it. Forcing your backline to move forward in PvP is a great application of it. And I think even PvE, it probably has some effect, because when you're ready to go to the next pack, you're coming, baby. It's time to go to the next pack.
In here, I thought we were going to have to wait for Jay Coon's assessment of the skill to get the PvE out there. Jay's like, look how much sweatier I can be killing this golem. We can actually, all three of us, go together. If we just leave the loot behind. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Leave the loot.
Okay, Jay, I don't believe you've talked on this yet. What do you think about this new mass teleport skill?
I think it's a very I think it's definitely a very extremely situational skill. I think when it comes to node wars and sieges, being at the right time and the right place can turn the tide of the battle, and definitely this ability can help you do that. But at the same time, being at the wrong time, at the wrong place at the wrong time will do the opposite, and this ability could do that to you. Yep. So I think there's definitely a lot of potential, but I suspect there would be a lot of misplays more than good plays for this skill. I did notice that so it is like an iframe at the start, so I feel like a lot of witches and wizards might just use it as a solo bootleg 3-minute cooldown iframe, since it does give you a very long iframe at the very beginning, and also
is that you
reposition not the solo PA into solo. Anyways, I do have one adjustment or quality of life change that I would like to add for it. I noticed that you just go when you finish the cast, and if perhaps instead you would be able to hold your position, and then you can press another button to then teleport you forward. Then maybe you had more control over when you go, with your friends, instead of just automatically going. Yeah, so that would be my adjustment for it.
My personal opinion on the skill is that it's going to make Pistanity more money than he's ever made in his life. Because it's just gonna be like 15 clips of blue turboing his entire guild because he keeps TPing in the wrong direction. The skill scares me to death as the shot caller, because like I know just like there's gonna be somebody that, God bless him, the only competition he's winning is for the most chromosomes in the room, that is gonna TP me the wrong way, and I am gonna get upset, and this is gonna happen frequently. When the skill is used proper, it's just like Shy Bubble, you know, except way more potent because way more people play staff. Way more people play staff, right? Like Shy Bubble has damned me far more times than it has helped me. That's because just because you can bubble doesn't mean you should, right? It's just like Blitzcrank hook in League of Legends. Just because you can hook doesn't mean you should. Just because you can hook doesn't mean you should. Like,
and here comes the Malphite in the full ADT.
Exactly. What are you doing? That was a boo-boo. But yeah, so like I think that there's a lot of applications for it if used correctly. One of the most interesting things that I discovered about the skill while I was experimenting with it is it will take people that are crouched or laying down on the ground, and when you double TP those crouched laying people, they will be standing and ready to cast skills. Ooh. So theoretically speaking, you could have your entire offense ball save 5 or 6 wizards. You could avoid scouting, save 5 or 6 wizards, and everyone's just crouched, and then you just turbo and engage as the enemy guild comes over the hill, right? So like that's a really cool application. I do like the axe application as well, where you could get your axers out, particularly because I'm a staff and now I never have to take my axe out ever again. Would be absolutely spectacular.
I'm here to TP you guys out.
Exactly. There's nothing I can do. I have to TP you out and speed spell you. But like, I think that engaging, just so everybody is clear, that the double TP happens and you are everybody is iframed. Okay, so you can be grabbed out of the start of the skill. So if you're TPing, if you are yourself the caster, you are iframed when you start casting the skill. It's not like PA. PA you can be knocked out of. This skill you cannot be knocked out of. You start casting it and you're going somewhere. You are iframed. If they can't grab you, they can't do anything. However, the people that are standing around you that are being teleported can still be grabbed. The Zerkers can just grab onto their ankles and say, "Where are you going?" And then everybody teleports away, and then it's the one Sork that you managed to grab. You're like, "Hi," you know what I mean?
Welcome.
and you just
it doesn't take them with you.
Then it's a reverse Mordecai. Yeah. Mordecai's are old.
You cannot take if somebody's already grabbed and you try to TP them away. You cannot pull somebody out of an existing grab. Can't do that either. So like in AOS applications for AOS, you can't save somebody if they're in. You have to wait until they have been thrown to the ground, and then TP them away. But like I don't know, like you can cast immediately, so you're iframed. If you're one of, like, let's say you're a Zerker being teleported. Sure, you're vulnerable at the start of the skill, but you double TP forward. In the second that you land, you can start casting skills. So. And we tried this with a 200 2 or 3 times. You can just immediately cast a 200. It's a double TP, instant 200% in the middle of the enemy ball every single time with a caster right next to you who's trying to heal you. So you're talking about guaranteed engagements every single time with your frontline. And I know Sasha is listening right now. I remember Sasha a long time ago in Black Rose used to pull his, and I do this too, frontliners aside and do like special PA plays with like just like the Awakening Mystics or just the frontliners, and he would have them go in first. This is exactly what that is going to encourage as far as your like engagement goes, because your normal staffs won't really be able to make much use of an engage tool, right? Your normal staffs can't use it, right? But the shot caller specifically almost must be playing caster now. Because you can make so many more plays with your front line, or even your back line, or even your flankers. If you have big, like really good pre-engage bombers, right? As there's infinite applications as a flex lead or a shot caller. Anyone that's in charge of people that wants to help pre-engage or bomb is just up huge with this kind of thing. So like, engagement wise, I think are the most like really cool, like everybody's going to want to see like the cool engagements that you can come up with it. As a shot caller and as a shot caller for a long time, I look at it and I think it just changes the whole landscape of PvP as it is like how you're looking to engage, what you're allowed to do, what you can get away with strategy wise. I think like open field changes dramatically with a skill like this. Now granted, on the global labs, the cooldown buff, it gives you a debuff very similar to PA, so that you can't actually be double TP'd more than once in a given amount of time. I think it's like 60 seconds or 2 minutes or something like that, but it doesn't actually work right now. By the time that we get it, I'm hoping that debuff actually works. So like because it was intermittently kind of working on the global labs, but not really. So like assuming that works, I actually think that it's not an imbalanced skill. I think it opens up a lot of opportunities that seem broken in PvP, but I think there's going to be an adjustment period and people are going to use it en masse. Probably not super great. For the shot caller specifically, really good, right? Because it's going to come down to the shot caller has to call for that skill. Like 100%, this is a shot caller must be calling for that skill, because if you try to do it proactively, you're just going to turbo the entire guild. You've just effectively killed every ranger in your platoon. Just got turboed because you're bad, you know. Like it's a very shot caller specific skill. That's why it excites me the most, because the shot caller is the one that's got to call for it, and then you're going to find out really quickly who is our worst staff. You're gonna find out really fast who your terrible staffs are, right? So like
that's what we talked about as well. It's separate. This skill by itself will separate the good staffs and the bad staffs very quickly.
I mean, yeah, before you had like PA, right? Like the staff would PA too early, and it's like, okay, well the whole ball doesn't get to have PA for the next minute. Okay, that happens. But if you cast it, everyone is looking at you. And keep in mind, when I say everyone, I mean the 400 people watching on Twitch that just watch your stupid ass double TP forward, and blue is about to light you up like a Christmas tree. You know what I mean? I'm talking to you guys. I'm talking to my guild. Just remember that. So yeah, I think that the applications for this are basically endless, and it's super cool, but it's going to be a shot caller diff. Like the best shot callers, I think, are going to make the best use of the skills, right?
I wanted to add when you were talking about like applications for the skill, like broken applications for the skill. This reminded me of the comment about Wusa's reflection mechanic. There were so many comments about how, you know, the comment like before Wusa came out, oh, it's going to be such a broken skill, because they were like showcasing on like Twitch clips. I remember this clip of Biseptimus. He was showcasing the reflect damage. It was like one-shotting people. And people were saying it's broken, but realistically, to put yourself in that situation is just so unlikely to get that perfect reflect moment. And it wasn't really, often used. It was mostly a defensive tool, realistically nowadays. But if you can pull it off, and you do one-shot people, then good. You were rewarded for using the skill properly, right? And I feel like the same thing would be for the teleport skill too. And when you were talking about broken applications for it, and if you were able to pull that off, then you should be rewarded for having, that amazing play for the teleport skill. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think it was well thought out. It actually looks pretty well balanced just out of the gate. And it's exactly what we were talking about, right? Like Tiltus brought it up on a previous podcast. We want to see more unique support skills, right? Now, I will say they gave it to staff, which is already like everybody. What's the first thing everybody, when you're bad, what's the first thing you're like, just play staff, dude. Like, you just can't go on with it. Yep. But now, honestly, it would give me pause. Like, please don't play staff. Please don't do that. Don't do that to the rest of us. You're gonna
let me reconsider. Yeah.
By the way, you cannot lock the skill. You cannot lock the skill. You can lock almost every other skill in the Witch's Kit, but you cannot lock this one. If they accidentally put in the skill key binding, we are going on a journey. We're going.
Is it only from hotbar, I'm assuming?
Yeah. No. I mean, you can cast it from hotbar, but no. It had a key input.
Oh, there's a key input. It has a key input.
Oh, it's like down RMB and pre-awakening, but you always put it on your hotbar.
RMB.
Yeah. Oh, now, like and I thought about implications as a shy. Is there ever a situation where you're trying to? I thought about the shies, and I really don't think that shy benefits a whole lot from being teleported one way or another. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on it.
Well, I mean, if you teleport in a shy and then she starts bongoing, maybe that could stiff a lot of people, and that could create opportunities for the other 4 people that get teleported with you.
Okay,
So,
all right.
I don't
See,
know.
there's something. Okay, that's a consideration. I like that. I was just thinking about the bubble specifically. There's a lot that has to be off cooldown there, and I don't feel like the bubble. I feel like if I want to land a shy bubble in the middle of a ball, I just have my shies play dead in the field. And just let them walk over the top of you, and then we'll engage on your bubble, right? Like but like, yeah, no, I don't know if I guess shy. Yeah, I mean, like, there's implications for every class, and I think it's just a really cool skill to be added. I feel like we'll talk about Awakening. We'll talk about Awakening Mystic later. We're getting there. We're getting there today, man. All right, so I think we've talked about enough about this new mass teleport skill. Now we want to move on to one of Jay's topics, which was non-succession classes, of which there are two in the game: Shy and Archer. Let me just ask up front, do you guys feel like these classes should have a succession? Jay, it's your topic. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think adding a succession variant would create another place. That's kind of like the point of Awakening and Succession, is to give classes 2 different playstyles. And I feel like it's a little bit unfair that, Archer and Shy don't have that option. Apparently on BDO Mobile, Archer does have a succession variant. I was browsing through some Archer mobile videos, and he uses his crossbow as if he were like a gunslinger, like dashing and spinning while shooting arrows from the crossbow. Like think of Diablo 3's Demon Hunter class. Think of Samira's ultimate from League of Legends. Think of Zerker using a spinning whirlwind attack, but instead of axes, it's crossbow shooting arrows. So hopefully I was able to paint a picture in your mind of Archer and Mobile, and I think that would be an interesting thing to see in BDO. As for Shy, it would definitely be definitely a 180 degrees if she were a DPS oriented class. But again, I think that's the point of Succession and Awakening, to give different classes a different playstyle.
Ooh, man, that completely invalidated my entire argument. Tiltus, go ahead.
Oh.
No.
No.
You don't want them to have...
No.
They got dancing. It's not fair.
They got that.
It's not fair. You can't have it.
Not the dance.
So I see what Jay's saying about having these kind of different specs and allowing you to kind of do different things with each spec. The current implication of them is more damage. They do not feel separate enough, in my opinion, especially with your C skills for Succession. So I'm not a fan of them getting it. I think that they have their niche, they have their play style, and they're very good at what they do, and they should absolutely leave them alone and let them continue thriving in that. I don't want to see them mess up that nerf Archer, but it's too strong.
Well, we'll see that Archer is more of like a very long range oriented playstyle, right? Very, very long range. And at least from what I saw on mobile, he's very melee oriented. Surprisingly, even though he uses a crossbow, it's like maybe kind of melee and mid range. And so, I mean, I feel like it wouldn't really be too big of an issue. But that's just me.
Yeah. So so the entire idea of Succession, and the reason they introduced it to the game, is to give players more opportunities to play classes with different play styles. Take Dark Knight, for example. The people that started playing Dark Knight early on were playing it because it was a woman with a really big sword, right? And they liked that thematic, right? And then the Vediant came out and they never saw that again. And so Succession gives them the opportunity to play with the Kriegmeister if they want to, right? That melee kind of Dark Knight assassin with the big sword. If you look over at these two classes, I just don't know what I mean. Like I said, it invalidates my heart. I'm like, what does a Succession Archer look like, right? Like, you play Archer because you want to be ranged, right? And so I feel like the reason it currently doesn't have Succession is because people mainly only pick up Archer because they want to shoot the bow. However, you look over at Ranger, and what Jay just said, you look over at Ranger. Ranger's a little different, though. People can pick up Ranger for one of two reasons. The Ranger could mean two things. Ranger, one, you think of an archer like Legolas or something, right? Like Ranger. Or two, again, you could look at Legolas, but more of the scouting, like you're like...
Aragorn.
Aragon kind of Ranger, right? And so you have this mid-range duelist that Flanos plays in, like the Awakening Ranger. And then you have like this long range. So you still have these two different play styles of Ranger that allow people to play Succession and Awakening. So, and I agree with Jay. It would look kind of like Demon Hunter from Diablo. You horrible man for bringing that up. It just released. It's too raw. It's too raw. But
Can I
like,
have my players back now, please? Thank you.
yeah, honestly, Tiltus, we can see the reflection of Diablo 4 on your head, man. You just gotta minimize the game.
I've not played a Diablo game in like 10 years, bud.
But yeah, no, I actually think that would be a good iteration for Archer. What does a Shy Succession look like? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I think Archer, you might be able to make a case for Succession like Jay just did. Does a Shy doesn't really have like what?
Yeah, on mobile there was no. It was just Shy on mobile. There was no additional place. One interesting thing on mobile is that Shy is actually a very formidable PvP opponent. She kind of summons animals with her flute. Like she summons the bear to sort of like CC their opponents, and it's very interesting. It's like a very different class.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I heard
but,
was don't ever touch Medio Mobile. Got it.
Jay,
I don't feel like dying to a Shy ever.
Jay, you ever met a man named Mutaru?
Yes, I have.
I feel like Zethian would like to have a word with you. But like, yeah, I mean, like Shy, and the idea that Shy could PvP, yeah, maybe you just make it more about the boomerang aspect. Maybe they throw the boomerang and it's got like wild range and it like goes through like a bunch of people as it zigzag or something. Yeah. I don't know. Like, yeah, I think, and you take away most of the support capabilities, you know?
Mm-hmm. Actually, now that you mentioned range, so if you didn't know, Shy's actual type of damage, you know, like this ranged melee and magic damage, Shy is actually considered a melee damage dealer, and so only melee accuracy, melee AP affects her, and so perhaps maybe when she, you know, if there was a Succession version of Shy, it would be a ranged version of Shy. Is my
that would be interesting. Yeah, it would be interesting. Like, do those classes deserve a Succession? I'm gonna go with Tiltus on this one. Archer is so busted. Like, bro, get out. Shy, I don't. The problem with Shy is we're gonna talk about in this next thing is they get all the cool shit that we want on all of the classes, and for some reason it's only exclusive to Shy. We have no idea why the developers, like somebody in the office was like, hey, we should implement dancing, and then someone stopped him and said, no, we should implement dancing for Shy. What are you doing? Is this a joke? Do you have any idea the amount of BM that we could lay down in PvP if we could teabag people like by dancing and on their corpse? Like even if it's just like the Shy dance and it's like a Dark Knight doing it, bro, we would, oh man, the content that we could put out. But like
that with emotes.
Bro, don't even get me started. But like, do you guys feel like dancing should be on every class, Tiltus?
Oh, absolutely. 110%.
Absolutely obnoxious. Yeah. Jay, you're a Shy main.
Yeah. I don't mind if other classes had unique dances. I don't think that's an issue. No disagreement there.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I feel like that they implement things on Shy because this isn't the only thing that they do, right? Like, there's all kinds of Shy stuff that Jay you allude to in your next topic here, where like, for example, class specific quests, right? Class specific quests are basically exclusive to Shy, with the exception of Awakening and Succession quests. So like, Shy can play all these instruments. Why can't every class? Why can't you have a band of like a Zerker, a Dark Knight, a Witch, and a Shy? You know what I mean? And just jamming out like hard rock. You know what I mean? Like, that would be really cool. And I think that it would allow more people to use the music system. Why can't we just implement that on all the classes? One of my questions for you guys is, do you want more like class specific quests? Jay, this is one of your topics, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I remember there is this World of Warcraft Warlock specific quest line that was quite tedious and actually costed a lot of gold for just like this aesthetic appearance. When you completed it, you changed some of your fire abilities from a red to a green, and a green fire was a very lore specific thing in WoW associated with demons, like demon fire, and so this gave players a unique appearance for their skills for their class, and it was that sort of how do you just like that? Ooh, how did you get that vibe? You know, and I would love that for BDO. So along the lines of that, if I were to think of something for, let's take Witch again, for example, it would be a quest line that maybe dives more deep into the lore of her elemental summons like Gore and Ted. And then after completing the quest line, you would learn more about Gore and Ted, and they would have an altered, unique appearance, you know, and by extension, the same quest line for Wizard and his elemental summons. So that would be my idea of a, ooh, how did you get that factor for a Witch? And I'm sure other players would love something like that for their class.
Absolutely. I think it also gives them an opportunity to fix questing. Right now, we have no idea. The Succession and Awakening quest line, bro, every Succession quest line is saying, oh my God, Elezra again? No way!
She's the fallback plan for BDO. What are we gonna make the enemy? Elezra.
We don't know what's going on, bro. We hit R straight through those. But like, you could give us class specific quests that really dive into the story, or like into the character specific quest line. Like, that would be really cool. Tiltus, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so Final Fantasy actually does that fantastically. So if you don't know, in Final Fantasy, every 5 levels you unlock a class-specific quest line, and you have to go do it to continue progressing in that class. There's a story arc that goes through all of those, and granted, Final Fantasy, it tells great stories. Even Final Fantasy 14 is no exception. But there's a class-specific quest, and every time you do them, you unlock a new ability, or just various things, but it's really cool because then when you see other players or other NPCs in the world that are that class, you know like how they got that way, how they became that way, so I think class specific quests would be really fun. It would be a great way to dive into more of the lore of each class. Why does Valkyrie want to be a Valkyrie?
I've read here.
Yeah, why does DK, they touch on DK a little bit in Succession, but like Vidir, like all of DK's skills are based around Vidir, and we know very little about who Vidir is and like that kind of stuff. Although with Odalita, they fix that a little bit because she talked to him, or talked to her. But there's all these avenues that they could do that would just further like give the class an identity besides just like Striker is the Ook, and Zerker does 200%, and Valks miss their Biazars because they're bad. Stuff like that. So I would love class certain abilities, adding aesthetics to that. 110%. Yes, give me. That would be so cool. I love the idea of Warlock having a green flame instead of a red flame, and then transferring that to BDO classes, giving them some kind of aesthetic appearance change that you can opt into. Like the Black Spirit, I love changing the Black Spirit's aesthetics. I love that they added that as a feature to the Black Spirit, because he goes through a bunch of changes, like a ton of changes. If you've never played the MSQ and actually done it, he goes from a wisp to the toothy guy. Eventually he turns into the monster that you fight in Medaya. Then he turns into the little Hystria looking guy, and then if you finish Bartali's, he turns into what looks like a vampire. So like it's the best way I can describe that for him. So like that stuff's cool. I like stuff like that, and adding it to classes to give each class unique flavor of some kind would be sick. So
yeah. I mean, like, did you guys of course you didn't read the new Magnus quest. I actually read it all just for sport, and as it turns out, what's that dude in the Magnus's name? Yum or whatever his name is. I don't know. Who? What's his name?
Oh, the guy or the
guy that controls the Magnus.
The Mawa.
No, the little Wuju.
Wuju.
Thank God Jay's here, bro. Wuju. Wuju apparently was a black spirit, and he's like, yeah, I was that I was that May was
Yeah,
black
he was
spirit.
the May was black spirit. Yeah,
I
yeah, I
know.
remember that.
And
Oh my
then
god, that was crazy.
They didn't allow us to ask him, how did she get rid of you?
Oh my
It's not fair. So what you're saying is she left you in here, and then she never had to deal with you again. Like, I was like, you got to be kidding me right now. Never mind the fact that the woman literally set sail for Land of the Morning Light on a Bartali boat, like Tom Hanks on a raft going out into the ocean. Like, it'll be okay. Like, she's gonna need the 2 weeks to reach the expansion. Like,
I like that connection. It was like when you found out, it was like very bittersweet. It's like he was talking about how Wuju and Yanhua were like talking a lot. Like after the Magnus questline, they were just hanging out, and she would visit all the time, and until she had to leave. And then he felt this sort of like longing and sadness with her, and he didn't know why until he was talking about. And then that's when you eventually find out he was her black spirit. And
yeah. But
just kind of choked me up a bit.
Jace,
Bartali had a black spirit too.
What's going on here, man? And I still don't know why we have a black spirit. Like, I feel like the class
Alezra.
Yeah.
We need a Wuju black spirit skin, you know what I mean?
Please, that would be so cool.
Yes. Like, I would love a Wuju black spirit skin. That would be so sick. Even if it was a Pearl Shop item. Take notes, CMs. But like, yeah, no, I think class-specific quests would be sick, even if it was just for like the music stuff. I mean, you're a musician, Tiltus. Would you use the in-game music feature if you could use it on your Valkyrie?
Yes, all the time, the time. It'd be Game of Thrones before every single war. We'd be sitting at the fucking Carolyn buff and it dun 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 dun, like just all the time. I would have so many like logs of music, like toss a coin to your Witcher. Oh man, that would just be on constant repeat when we're out doing stuff. So yeah,
it'd be so sick. Like, I just feel like there would be so much more use out of that music system, which currently is just like, oh well, only Shies can do it. Well, that kind of just destroys the content for anyone that isn't a Shy. You know what I mean? Like, what if I just don't want to play Shy and I love music, right? So like that, the dancing was another big one. Any class-specific quests at all that help us dive into our quests and feel more like, this is my class, this is my home. So part of what, like, and we've talked about League before. Part of what makes League of Legends such a great game is that Riot makes you feel like when you pick a main class, they make you feel attached to that class. So like when you see it in a trailer or something, you're like, oh, that's
my main.
Best part of Arcane.
Yeah,
the best
literally.
part of Arcane. Anybody that plays any of those champions when Arcane came out, you were like, bro, yes.
That's what I'm saying. Evelyn was in every shot. Every single shot of Arcane, and I loved every second of it.
Look, I'm an Echo main, and that battle on the bridge, cool, the whole time.
Right.
So yeah.
But like that being set aside, but all the trailers that they could do, even in tournaments, right? Like, it would make our tournaments so much more hype, even if you're not attached to the players that are playing the classes in the tournament. Even if you have no idea who Flannels is, you're like, I'm a ranger. There's a ranger. Oh, he's killed him. He's 1v3. Let's go. Like, you feel attached. And it's not that you feel attached to Flannels per se, or to Armin or whoever it is. It's that you feel attached to the class, right? And this develops more of like a connection with your class when you add more quest lines like this. It also gives depth, because right now there's almost no depth to your class. It's, you have to reach level 56. Why is that? Because you get Awakening in succession. What is that? And then you explain the PvP aspect of it, and they're like, but how does that tie into the story? And you're like, honestly, I've done the quest line 17 times. Couldn't tell you, Chief. But there is going to be a woman at the end in white robes. Like,
she's always there. Every time.
She's always there. Every single time. Like, so they could add a lot more depth, and I think that that's really cool. Back on the subject of Shy for a moment, I do want to talk a little bit about the Artina Sol, because I feel like this is a big problem. And I saw a post on the forum where it's got wild amounts of upvotes. I'm not entirely certain why the developers feel like Shy has to be this special class where you can only do certain things on this class. A perfect example is the Artina Sol. You can't register an Artina Sol to the market. You have to enhance it yourself. You can't buy one. You can't get one through the guaranteed pen system. And most importantly, you can't tag it. So you'd go through all of this
Yeah.
effort, forced to enhance it. Picture a new player that fails an Artina Sol like 75 times. Like, there's actually no way that player makes
But they got dancing.
I'm a head
How
out,
much?
guys.
How much are they paying you, Jay? To be honest, how much is the partner
Talk about
program
enhancing
paying
at the
you?
beginning of
Because
this
I'm not
stream.
making that much money. But like, seriously though, like, I don't understand. You can't tag the Artina Sol. You're forcing the whole idea of the guaranteed pen system was to maintain their players, right? So like, initially they came out with seasonal, and we saw this massive influx of players, more than we had ever seen since the game had launched, because suddenly you could get to Tet boss gear level gear like that, right? It was like really quick. And then after that, they realized, oh crap, we lost all those players. All those players quit because they were forced to do the pen system, and they were like, I don't want to do it. Then they introduced the guaranteed pen system, and that kept players playing long enough that they were able to release them into the game. That was great. But for the Shies, imagine being a new player as a Shy. First of all, your PvE sucks. The low end PvE sucks, right? Like, people are like, go to Centaurs, you'll make 700 mil an hour. Not on Shy, you won't. Like, hey, you can't make a crazy amount of money at low end spots on a Shy because the mobility's just not there. So you're forced to life skill, right? Which is automatically going to be less money. And then on top of this, you're forcing them to enhance a soul that if they have trouble with it, they're just going to quit the game. They can't get their awakening weapon to pen. Then when they want to play a new class, that weapon that they spent so much money on getting a pen, you can't tag it. You got to make a new pen anyway. Like, it's obnoxious. So Jay, you're the Shy player. How do you feel about the Artina Sol?
You know, it definitely put a unique twist to the class, but it has also become a hindrance for players wanting to tag to and from a Shy. I would like them to also add a Black Star variant of the Sol, because there's a lot of stats from a pen Black Star that you just don't get for your Shy, right? You're missing 12 accuracy, 10 species, and 25 monster AP. So that's a lot of stats missing just for the Shy. And you know, if you do want to tag, then they're separate and
It's obnoxious. Like, so Jay, I want to ask, as a Shy main, do you like that they make Shy like this super unique, what's the word I'm looking for, cringe class? Like, do you feel like that helps to make you feel unique, like it's one of your own, or would you rather them widen the scope a little bit, like for things like the Soul, right? Like, where's the line?
I do think Shy. I don't know if you were there for I think it was like 2018 Heidel Ball or something, and they revealed this experimental class. That's what they described it as, an experimental class where it had a very unique play style. It was more of a life skill oriented support class that no one has ever seen before. And so, you know, Shy was a result of them trying something different. And so I kind of like that the dev team is trying to create more of these unique styles. I just wish it was a little bit more, what's the word for it? Like alt friendly, I guess. To add on to the Artina Sol thing is freaking. I have to get another. I have a third Garmoth's heart just so I could have the Garmoth's heart on my Sol as well, and. And so imagine you're a new player and you can't even get your first one.
God. Oh, that hurt like even worse than it already was. Oh, I didn't even think about the Garmoth heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's either you get a second one or you just keep extracting it from your other one. You know, the tagged one. So
yeah. I mean, like Tiltus now is a third party player that hasn't expressed his opinion. Do you feel like that Shy is too yes, Jay said when they came out with Shy, it was supposed to be this different, edgy, like they were just trying something different, you know, like class that's like couldn't really PvP, but it was like a really good life skiller, and it had all the cutesy stuff that maybe most of their player base isn't really going to latch onto. Do you feel like they've gone too far with it, or do you feel like it that kind of stuff is okay still?
Yeah, I mean, there's some things where I just question why it's a Shy exclusive thing. Like Shies have the alpaca. They have, you know, like the donkey Krogdala gear, you know, like there's things that they have that's exclusive that makes sense for them to have that's exclusive. But like there's a lot of things that Shy has, like the dancing and the music, that's like this could be a feature on every class. Why did we only give it to Shy? You know, social interaction like emotes or like things like that are like good for the game because it helps the game feel alive. I mean, I bring up Final Fantasy 14 again for like the 30th time this podcast, but like there is a dedicated group of players that just dance in one of the main cities. Every time you go there, there are people just dancing there. It's on every, yeah. But it's like it helps the game feel alive when you just like are walking through town and all of a sudden there's just like people just dancing off to the side and like people playing music, and you know, like there's social aspects that help the game feel alive that BDO misses, and then they are like, cool, yeah, we're gonna do that, and then they give it to Shy, and I'm like, oh, okay, I want to dance on my Valk. That would be cool.
Dance. And we would, I feel like players would pay money. It would force us to quest. Like you could get us to do a lot of things if you would allow our characters to dance.
And if you don't dance, you're no friends of mine.
A lot of things. He made the same joke last week. Right?
I had to slide it in there. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. I completely agree. I think that Shy definitely, like when it first came out, Shy was this class that like, again, they were trying something different. They wanted it to be like this for fun kind of class. As some of the listeners alluded to, but like now that Shy is very much so integrated into the community now. This is no longer like just a for fun class. People main this class. People do this all the time now. You can't just like give Shy things and then not give it to the rest of us. It's like they're our sibling, and you just gave the younger sibling a fun Batman toy to play with, and then didn't get anything for the older sibling. Like, what are we supposed to do with ourselves? You can't do that.
My fun Batman toy, man.
Here's your laptop. You know what I mean? And you just handed it to the younger kid. And then the older sibling's like, oh my God, what do I get? And you're like, college debt. Congratulations.
Crippling depression.
Exactly. Brutal. On that note, the older sibling. Let's move on to one of our forum posts about a class. And we don't talk about, I try not to talk about balance too much on the podcast. I feel like there's enough balance talk in the game as it is. But this class has really kind of been buried. As of late, and there's a forum post that comes to us from somebody named Cursed, and has gotten a lot of love on the forums and a lot of good feedback, asking for. He's got pictures in this. He's got GIFs in this. All of the different various. He went to mobile and experimented with Mystic on mobile and all the various things she gets there. And he's got all of these suggestions for Awakening Mystic. The first thing I'm going to ask you guys is, do you feel Awakening Mystic is actually in a good spot or is in a reasonable spot? Tilt, just do the shot caller. So what do you feel like about Awakening Mystic? If a player comes to you and says, I'm playing Awakening Mystic, why do you in what way do you phrase that he is griefing the entire guild?
I say you will be much more beneficial to the guild if you roll Staff or Zerker. So there you go. But Awakening Mystic's in a really bad spot. There is a core member of Epidemic that tried for months to change the way he played, to get more gear, to do everything he could do on the class to make it work, because that was his main. That's what he played from the beginning. And he finally, like a month ago, was just like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Rolled his weapons off. It's like going through the system of like tagging a bunch of characters to find what feels right for him now. Because Mystic has like a pretty unique playstyle. It's kind of the disruptor, it's kind of beefy, kind of tanky, it has the vacuum, and so it's in a bad spot. It's not good. It's not good right now.
All right, we'll circle back. Jay, how do you feel Awakening Mystic feels right now?
This is quite hard for me to add to the table since I've never played Awakening Mystic.
It's okay. I don't think
I do think her male counterpart as Striker has had a lot more time in the spotlight nowadays compared to her. So as we all know, that meta changes all the time. So I don't think I disagree. I don't disagree with making more non-popular specs shine in the spotlight now and then.
Yeah, I feel like so. what do we feel the problem is with the class? Like as like so I've played Awakening Mystic pretty extensively. It's probably my favorite tag class in the game was when I was playing Mystic, and I felt like I was forced to play Succession even though I really wanted the Water Dragon. I did play it. I played it pretty extensively, and I feel like I have a pretty firm grasp about what I want to say here. What do you guys feel the problem is with it now? Jay will circle back around. We'll come up to Tiltus and then back.
Problem with the class.
Do you feel like it has enough? And when you party with an Awakening Mystic in PvE, do you feel like it does enough?
I don't even see them. I don't even see that.
Is that the new class he has?
I don't think the last time I met an Awakening Mystic was in Histria of 2019. That's the last time I met an Awakening Mystic.
Yeah, so Mystic's been through quite an arc.
Yeah, I mean, it was so powerful back in 2018, 2019. I still remember, like whenever I went to Histria, there was always a Mystic there because they were like the best Histria grinder. But nowadays, like she's kind of been pushed aside and kind of forgotten, really. So,
yeah. So PvE, would you want an Awakening Mystic in your party, or would you rather have a Suck Mystic?
Probably whatever does more damage, and I'm assuming Suck does more damage.
Yeah. So Suck. So yeah, it is a problem in PvE. So that's good. Tiltus, what do you feel is the problem as a shot caller when you see Awakening Mystics play? You said you played with one for a while. What do you feel like is the problem?
He had a really hard time getting in to a lot of things. They're not super like I have flashbacks with Awakening Mystic because I played DK on Mystic release. Okay, you have to understand, I despise this class with every single fiber of my being. It's in the garbage, and in my personal opinion, it can stay there because I fucking hate that thing. Now that being said, and getting the disclaimer,
I was trying to coax it out of you because I knew,
the disclaimer out of the way. I know he had a really hard time getting in, and he had a really hard time staying alive when he did finally get in. I know he's not mechanically super gifted, but he's a experienced player. One of his no, there are players like that. I mean, we have plenty of players in our guild that like they are experienced, they know what to do, and they can do it if given the right tools to do it. And he could not figure out how to make Mystic work. He tried for a long time. The PvE was god awful on it. He complained about it daily. So I know he had a hard time getting in. I've not personally played Mystic, so I don't know what my personal opinion on what the issue with the class would be. But I know back in the day, I played DK, so it used to be super tanky. It was super hard to kill, and it was super good at just disrupting everything you did all the time. And I feel like it may have lost its identity, especially with Suck. Suck just does more damage. We've talked about that plenty of times. So there's a lot of...
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I want to circle back to our earlier discussion here. So so every time I hear Mystics open their mouths, I just shake my head. Because it's very clear to me. So when Mystic came out, like you said, I was playing Dark Knight 2. I was there for the genocide of our people.
Oh god, it's so bad.
They were demolished, bro. All of the Dark Knights disappeared like a fart in the wind. As if thousands of them
damage against them.
As if thousands of people cried out in unison, then and all at once were silenced by a dragon. It was rough. And I remember when I first picked up Mystic for the first time, I was like, I feel filthy playing this class, but boy, is it smooth.
I have still never made one. I refuse to make a Mystic. I've never made one.
Yeah, well, I made it and I love it. Mainly because it's not broken. And it took me years of therapy to get to the point where I would say that out loud and not be ashamed of myself. That being said, Awakening Mystic does have a big problem with damage, but I'll be honest with you. There's other classes in the game that also struggle with damage, but are in good spots, like Shy, for example. I don't feel like the problem with the buff that Awakening Mystic needs. I feel like it could use some PvE buffs. It's actually a really chill grinder. Believe it or not, it's like super chill. Very, very easy to grind, low APM. No big deal. You just get the shards and then you expend them, and then you get the shards and you expend them. Honestly, easier than the succession counterpart. It's overall AOE is a little lacking, and then its damage in PvE is also a little lackluster. So I'd like to see a PvE buff for sure. That set aside, I think what it needs in PvP, and I think the direction the developers are actually going with this, now that we've seen the mass teleport skill, I think we're gonna see some shit come out on Mystic, Awakening Mystic particularly. That like they're gonna try to make this into a utility frontline tank class. It already has a PA. It can self PA. You stand there, you look really cool. For those of you that don't know, you stand there for like 5 seconds, like Goku, like and there's like all this water erupting around you, and you're in this big, giant blue orb, and you're basically invincible for a short time. It's really cool. It's basically a worse version of the Draconian skill, but it's really, really cool looking. It's a little outdated, but like, do you guys, what kind of skills do you think they could add, like support skills or like large scale PvP skills? Do you think that they could add to something like Awakening Mystic with like a water dragon that would really bring, like make it relevant again? Jay, you're really good at brainstorming about this stuff. So I ask you, do you have anything off the top of your head that maybe might be really cool with your allies or like to enemies, big crowd control things, anything like that?
Now, don't pick up the gun this time.
No, just go for it, Jay.
Just
let it fly, buddy.
Well, I remember there was a lot of suck mechanics, like vortex mechanics for a Mystic, and that maybe could be her unique aspect, is focusing on the idea and mechanic about she could have the most amount of sucks, like that can't be avoided. I don't know, and so maybe that would be a way to implement her and improve her, is to focus on that mechanic.
Oh, the vortex would do, where she stands there and just like gathers like a tidal ocean, like a like a big vortex, like
a raid wide suck, you know.
She starts doing this, and you just hear the Pirates of the Caribbean theme music are playing, and you've got boats sailing around in circles, firing cannons at each other. Let's get carried away with it. Yeah, no, that sounds like a great suggestion. What about Tiltus? Do you have any ideas that'd be like really cool and make her like relevant again like that?
Yeah, so we talked about this a lot. Water typically has a thematic of like healing and like stuff like that. So there's obviously like the simple healing region, something of that nature. But I would like to see more like really niche utility things of like, I think Valk's heal is a great example of like you give your allies SA for 3 seconds. You could do things like that. You could really focus on the vortex and the whirlpools. But I would like to see support oriented skills that aren't just healing, whether that's giving certain people, super armor for a couple of seconds, or, even if you wanted to, like go the same route as the mass teleport, everybody gets in the wave and they ride the water dragon into wherever they're going,
shit.
or like,
the dragon just comes and scoops people up, and
exactly.
then you just
scoops people up.
Yeah,
I mean,
like.
There's all sorts of things like that, or reverse it, the water dragon now all of a sudden will scoop players up and deposit them somewhere else, like enemy players, not your allies. So you get a Mystic on the back line, and all of a sudden 5 people are coming at the, coming through your ball, they're engaging early, whether they want to or not,
Okay, guys, your PA, go in there.
It's like, whoop. now they're 30 meters over that way. A couple of water dragons came by, and you have the lone caster stand. They're like, what happened to everybody? Where'd everybody go?
Yeah, you know what? How about a skill where she dives in and it's just this giant nuke, and instead of a vortex, it blows people apart from each other. Doesn't do any a crazy amount of damage, but it disrupts you and blows everybody. Yeah, it blows everybody apart. That would be really cool too. Yeah. Honestly, any sort of like, I would love it to be like a flex lead kind of class where like you're setting up plays for like the flanking assassin classes, where you can dive in and either you can take like 5 people with you, because you don't really want to play staff on the flank. I mean, you can. Every class in the game is going to do more damage from a flanking position. But the classes that are really good at it, yeah, I think that like if you could just take people with you and just dive in and get some sort of big vortex down, or blow people apart and isolate people. You say water does have a healing thematic. They could go a different way with it. They could be like, like Ana in Overwatch.
Yeah.
When she shoots enemies with her gun, yeah, they tick down. It does damage, right? Yeah. But she doesn't do a crazy amount of damage. Sound familiar? But if she hit an ally with her skills, and I mean like all of her awakening skills, you hit allies with your awakening skills and it heals them.
Mhm.
The whole time you're just sitting there, and honestly, you're trying to hit allies the whole time. That would be a new dynamic for a class support that we had never seen before, where the Mystic is just playing inside of its own main ball, desperately trying to keep everybody healed up and itself protected. As it throws out, it's still got all of its disruption. It's still got that healing aspect to it. So we have the water dragon. That would be really cool too. It's like there's a lot of cool different things that they could do to this without just adding damage. And I think because they added that this mass teleport skill, I'm really excited because I feel like that might come. Right? Like we might actually get something like this. So anyway, I just wanted to discuss it a little bit. We don't talk about class balance very much on the podcast, and this is I wanted to make it more of a balanced discussion and more of a theory crafting discussion about what exactly is wrong. Yeah, what exactly is wrong with the thematic and the identity of Mystic, because it used to be this unstoppable force and is now just kind of this limp noodle. Right. Okay, so moving on to one of our last topics here. Comes to us from another forum post. This one from Feridian, who says that the worker sack that you get from your node workers, the new worker system, for those of you that don't know, when your worker returns, depending on what type of node it is, it deposits a sack in your storage. So if your worker was going to a farm and it comes back, it's going to lay a farm sack in your storage. If it's going to a gathering node, it's going to lay a gathering sack in your storage, and so on and so forth. But well, if you have like 100 and whatever workers, you can imagine, and they're going around the clock, you can imagine that these stack up very quickly, and you have to right click every single one of these over and over again to open it up. And so they're asking, can we please get this easier to open? Can we please make it? Have you guys had this problem yet? I'm curious.
Yeah, I've opened 600 or 700 so far.
Oh my god,
it's not great. It's really bad.
I have not opened anything. I didn't even know they existed, to be honest. And so maybe I'll go check them out.
You guys feed your workers?
You did. There's an auto feed system now, so they're good. They're fine. They're fine.
You're killing me, Jay. Didn't even notice. He literally has so much storage in all of his cities that he just didn't even care.
I didn't notice
they had sex. In fairness, I was also the same way. I read the post and I was like, Sacks? And I had to go check. And I was like, oh, they are delivering sex. Oh, wow, these are cancer to open. Look at this. Yeah, they're really frustrating to open. That needs to be changed post haste. I don't know why they thought about it. I don't know if you can hotbar them. That's a good question.
I remember whenever they gave out juices, you could or anything you would consume for your character. I remember the juices, you could bypass some sort of cooldown if you put them on the hotbar. And so maybe that could be what.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try it right now.
There's not a cooldown for them. It's just a lot of clicking.
Yeah, people in my
you just spam right click. It takes a while. It's not fast. I mean, try opening 600. It's 600 right clicks.
Oh yeah, no, you can hotbar it, but you still have to. You still have to left click it every single time you want to open it. It must be left mouse button. So there needs to be a faster
you can't just
way.
Press the hotbar.
Yeah, but you still gotta press the button. It's either a mouse button or a keyboard button. You still gotta press it 385 times. Okay. For 3 days where the worker works. You have to understand that every single time a worker comes back, it's delivering one of these sacks, right?
Not every single
use my
time.
fingers for something else.
There are some nodes that don't give any, and there are some nodes that give things. It's a great change, though. I really like it because I loaded up with 50 of each traces the other day, and I was like, sick. This is awesome. There's fruits. You can get fruits now.
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah, they're really good.
Really good change. Just make it a open all.
Oh my god, they should they should give us so if we put workers on a C node or a water node, we should get some coral crystals, Throwing it up there, Delph.
Man, you're just looking for coral crystal from anywhere. Anyway, no, I don't think you should get coral crystal for that. Just buff underwater gathering. Just buff the crud out of underwater gathering. Just make it, seriously, just make it drop way better from underwater gathering.
I want to go back to underwater. It was fun. That was some good content.
That's good stuff.
No crystal sacks for you, or coral crystal sacks for you, sir. You must go underwater to get them.
Yeah, coral crystal. So, and again, it's also giving you like the rough gems, like the rubies and the topaz and, and all that stuff, which is very important. That was like an overlooked thing that they started adding all of these different, like you need resplendent emerald or something. You need like 50 resplendent emerald. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get those stones? Like those very specific, if it's not exactly ruby, you are in deep shit. Like the sapphire, topaz, emerald, basically everything that isn't exactly ruby that you can get from a node is very difficult to get unless you have like the super extensive game knowledge to go get like know where to go mine, and even then it's still not super great. So I like that they added that to the worker sacks to kind of populate that on the market a little bit. So that's really good. Okay, all right, moving past it into our final topic here. We just have a few minutes to talk about it, and I've wanted to talk about this for weeks, and we never get to it. It's always like my extra topic. Horse racing. When horse racing came out, it was actually talk of the town. The content actually looked super fun. I know a lot of content creators were having fun with it. People were having fun with it. And nowadays, you don't really ever see people do horse racing. It's just like back in the day. But like, did you guys ever try horse racing? I
did.
Yeah, like the new one. And did you have fun with it, Jay? Do you like the content itself? Set the rewards aside. Were you having fun?
I did dabble in the Grand Prix. That's what it's called, the Grand Prix horse racing, to try it out. And I do admit having fun with it for like 2 days before I completely forgot about it.
That's what I was thinking. I admit to having fun. Do you know what game we're playing? There's no fun allowed here, sir.
You know what I think happened? I think Jae Kim gave some money to some sort of team to try to create a new mini game, and that's what came out. If I were to think of a rework for this content, if they were going to rework it, they need to study Mario Kart, because that game was really fun. So if they were able to make a racing mini game similar to Mario Kart in video, and give it maybe horse training related rewards, I think it would do well. I feel like Mario Kart is
ass, you know what I mean? Like, I'm coming for that ass.
What about blue shells, baby,
they could
everywhere.
They could have different mounts in it. They could have like the Shadow Lion mounts from Odalita, the bear mounts from Odalita. That's a way to use those. That's a way to add those mounts in, a way like the Farrakas from Camasylvia, and they would be like different sort of classes of carts, right? They would have different speeds, brakes, et cetera. So that's my idea for it.
So like
I've never horse raced once in my life, but when I picture horse racing in this game, the only thing I can think of is Mario Kart, but with a BDO. It would be hysterical. It'd be such a good guild activity too, to just like load up 10 guildies and be like, all right, boys.
Let me add something on top of that. Gamba. What if you could bet on horse races?
Oh no!
No! God, yes! It would be illegal in Belgium, but we would have so much fun with it. Gosh, that would be so much fun. You could have a lot of, and honestly, you're like, how players could exploit it. No, you could just add a couple AI horses in there, and let them run the race too. And then people could bet on which AI or which person is actually going to win the race. You know what I mean?
Maybe you can't bet on the AI horse at all. Maybe it's just always going to run the race, and if you don't finish it in so much time, it just loses. Everybody that bet lost its money to the AI horse.
There's ways around it, right? Yeah, there's definitely ways around it. It would be super cool, but I think the Mario Kart thematic is a bit of a stretch. We're running on Windows Vista. Chill out, bro.
So much fun. Dude.
I think so much fun. The idea that a horse in BDO is gonna run into like this spinning fucking kaleidoscoping color box, and it's gonna and then it's just gonna shit a fucking banana peel on the fucking dirt ass road behind it, and then the horse behind it's just gonna tank itself like that. Honestly, now that I'm explaining it, that would be pretty funny.
This sounds so entertaining.
It would be absolutely wild. It would be absolutely wild. But yeah, no, I mean, like, I do feel like it needs an update. And I actually felt like Jay said, when it first came out, there was a lot of people that did it and it was a lot of fun. But then everybody realized immediately that the rewards are just terrible. I actually feel like that horse racing is an example of content in the game where it actually is fun content, and all they really need to do is buff the rewards to something reasonable, and maybe let us gamble on it would be fun too. Maybe not make a crazy amount of money gambling, but like all of that would be fun, right? All of that would be fun. So like, I just like, I don't know. Do you guys feel like gambling is too much of a stretch here?
Smidge. Remember our whole conversation. Players' goal is to exploit the system as much as humanly possible.
All right, fine. Do away with the gambling then. Then just give us the fucking banana peel, and honestly, the spiky shell. Or something.
the blue shell.
Oh god,
the blue shell, bro.
Honestly, make it a
I'm
skill
trying to
diff.
wreck that first place person every time.
That skill diff where you just send the green shell through the trees up the fucking Balanos path, and it just smokes the guy in first place. And you're like, eat it, Kevin. Like, I think that would just be a tremendous amount of fun. But okay, let's go into closing comments here. Tiltus, you want to wrap up with everything we talked about tonight?
I'm super excited about Land of the Morning Light. I'm super excited with our GMs and CMs that we currently have as well. I think both the dev team and the GMs and CMs are knocking it out of the park right now. And I want to continue to see more stuff like that. So, and then as far as, a lot of the other stuff we talked about, continue just, dabbling with skills for various classes, give them a little bit of niche stuff like you gave mass teleport. That's so nice. Now move it off of which wizard because they have enough. Give it to some other people. We want fun stuff too. But yeah, all in all, it feels great right now. I'm very happy with the video, and I'm really excited about the expansion coming out. So
right on. Go ahead and give your plug your.
Yeah, I'm Tiltus TV, part-time shot caller, or part-time streamer, full-time shot caller. I shot call for the guild Epidemic and the Alliance Solace. We just moved to T2s. We're hard recruiting, so if you're looking for a home, we have no recs. All you got to do is play the game. So if you're wanting to come hang out, you're more than welcome to come hang out with us. And then I stream now. What is my schedule now? I stream Sunday through Wednesday and then Friday through Saturday. So I play Dark Souls, do PvP, and I'm gonna probably stream all of Land of Morning Light when it comes out as well. So buckle down for that theater mode, boys. We're going in hard for the cutscenes. So,
amen, brother. Okay, Jay. Closing comments.
Land of Morning Light. Land of Morning Light's coming next week, so super excited. It's probably gonna generate a lot of more content for us to talk about. So yeah, hi, I'm Jay-kun. I do a lot of end game PvE content. I'm always happy to answer questions about the game. Apparently I am one of the last few awakening woosas out there. All the woosas went back to Succession, but you can find me streaming over at twitch.tv/jaykunvt, V before the T.
Damn, right. He really nails that V before the T, man. He just slides right out. He's like, make sure you get it right, bro.
The amount of people that have tried to raid me and they put Jaykun TV. So this person named Jaykun TV has been getting a lot of views lately. So
I'm looking them up right now. I'm gonna go tell you how many followers they have.
I tried getting the name Jaykun TV. It was I don't know how long it'll take for me to claim that one, but I feel like I've been stuck with VT for a while now, so I feel like I shouldn't change.
Yeah, I'm waiting to get rid of the underscore in my name, but it is what it is. Anyway, yeah, all the topics we talked about tonight. We had our featured art tonight by Yakamori, who drew this beautiful looking fox there, like the Megu fox, which looks really
and
really
the butterfly.
Cool. And the butterfly there. Yeah, very very cool thematic art there. I am Blue Squadron, and every week, all the time, we are constantly pumping out content. We have the big project this summer is to get our YouTube content out. So we've just been working on how to choose our class guide. We release more videos on that basically every day. We're releasing a new video basically on every class in the game, is how to pick your class and like a little synopsis on every class. We shot call Siege on Saturday, and this coming Saturday is actually my birthday, which is a lot of fun. But the birthday stream itself, I know I got a shot call Siege on my birthday. There's not going to be any fun had. But after that, on Sunday, I have a big birthday enhancement, big summer blowout stream, which will be a lot of fun. Over 100 billion silver there. That'll be a good time. There's also Taiku's beach vacation fashion show in the afternoon on Sunday, which I'm going to be a part of too. We got Fun Day Monday on Monday. And then next Tuesday in the afternoon, I'm doing a Land the Morning Light IRL cooking stream. Yeah, so I'm going to be cooking some of the food we're going to get in the expansion the next day. I'm going to be cooking some of that IRL on stream for you guys that Tuesday afternoon. And then, of course, that Tuesday evening, we roll back around to the podcast again. So it's basically just content all week long for me. So make sure you tune in for that. That being said, this is going to be a wrap for the Old Moon Podcast, episode 12. Make sure you guys listen to us. We are on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. The idea of this podcast is that you guys can listen to meaningful video content anywhere you are, not just in front of your computer. So until next week, guys, have a great rest of your week. We can't wait for Land of the Morning Light.